Shaka Sherpa. Finally, the second part on the Bosnian pyramid, the pyramid by itself. I apologize for the delay, but as you will understand, when watching this second part, it was quite some work to put everything together. Shaka Sherpa. Today, another very special day of our journey. We are at the base of the Bosnian pyramid. Going up there. If true, this pyramid is 2 or 3 times larger than the pyramid of Egypt. But everything is very controversial here. The whole site, the whole archaeological stuff is owned by one person, a businessman, a Bosnian businessman from Texas. And the Institute of Archaeology of Bosnia did refuse to allow him digging and archaeology. However, the Senate or so overruled this and he got the permission. Now there is a foundation, 50 people are working for the foundation, and all the sites are owned by the same person. This is Semir Osmanagic. He is a Bosnian business guy from Houston, Texas, USA, and he is called the Bosnian Indiana Jones. He is the owner and of the foundation of the Ravne tunnels. He owns the complete hill of the Ravne tunnels, all the sites over there, and he exploits the visiting of the pyramid, for which you have to pay entrance fees. Please have a look also in the other movie which I made before, because they have more details on him. When driving through the city, then you see a lot of the signs with this pyramidal sign over here, and then you see for this time it's the active archaeological site of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. So then you have it of the moon, you have the Ravne tunnels, and so the whole city is full of the signs, and all this belongs to the foundation of Osmanagic. When you want to hike up to the Bosnian pyramid, although the pyramid by itself is not owned by the foundation or by himself, he is asking an entrance fee of about 10 or 15 euros or so. And then you go up these stairs here. Here you pay, and you can even hire a guide for 20 euros who explains you in detail all the special sites. And then while you're going up, you find all these poster boards with the information which guide you up to the very special site of the artificial geopolymer, the concrete, the indications that this is a man-made pyramid. So here you see one of these boards and posters, and clearly you see here Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, the individual claims. Let's go through step by step through these claims. The first claim, it's the largest pyramid in the world with a height of over 360 meters. Now, what can we do on this? So considering the height, you take Google Earth and you get this image of the pyramid. The middle center is here, and you see here a branch, and here a branch, and here a branch. And then you take Wikilog, what we have as mountaineers, and then you see the height lines. Here you see the contours of the pyramid. You see 1, 2, 3, and then it's getting fake a little bit. And so if I draw now this pyramid like a square really around the middle point, then this is what you could draw. And here at the lower left part you see there it's going wrong. What's about this claim of 360 meters? Now if we look to the height lines here, then you see it's 550 meters. Here at 700 meters, each of the topographical lines is 10 meters. So this means we end up at 750 meters. So the height is 200 meters. And if we draw in his advance a larger pyramid, but then Clearly you have a problem here because you're going up the mountain, which would be down here somewhere. Then you see we have to go from 750 meters to 500 meters. So at maximum the pyramid is 250 meter and not the claimed 360 meter. Let's check the angles of the pyramid. Here is the middle. I was just not fully in the middle. And then we start to rotate. You see here one facet. Here is something missing. Here's a ridge. Oh, a facet. Here's a ridge. A facet. Here's a ridge. And then the other one is missing. So, is this pyramid really pyramidal in structure? Now, let's have a look to the next slide. The next claim is about the age. 34,000 years old and thereby the oldest pyramid in the world. Tja. How did they confirm this? You get the information, scientifically very solid. There are 3 institutes. Here, one from Sarajevo, then we have an Italian group, and we have a group of New Zealand. And they did carbon radio dating and find something like 15,000 years old, 24,800 years old, and 29,200 years old. But obviously the question is, what is really going on? So, 34,000 years is claimed and is the information you get as a visitor to the site. What really happens was that there were leaves and organic matter in between the layers of the rocks, and they have been dated indeed by carbon dating to 24,800 to 34,000 years ago. So this kind of is true. The question, however, is that the global archaeological and geological community widely dispute the classification of the hills in Visoko, Bosnia as ancient pyramids, larger viewing them as natural landforms. So, in the natural rock formation, in between the layers, leaves can be assembled over there and get fossilized, and if you do a carbon dating on them, obviously you find the date when the leaf was buried under the fossilized rocks. But this does not necessarily mean that the rocks are artificial. Let's check the next claim. The next claim is that the most precise orientation of all the pyramid to the real cosmic north, with 0 degrees in errors, 0 minutes in error, and only 12 seconds of deviation. You have to understand 1 degree of angle is subdivided into 60 minutes and each minute again into 60 seconds. So let us compare this to the Pyramid of Giza, which has 0 degrees, 2 minutes misalignment, in contrast to what he is claiming for Bosnia, 0 degrees, 0 minutes, 12 seconds. 5 times 12 seconds is 1 minute, so 2 minutes, which means that the pyramid in Bosnia must be 10 times more accurate aligned than the Pyramid of Giza. At least this is what is written here. So if we compare this to the Pyramid of Khufu in Giza, you simply take it as it is from Google Maps, and you clearly see that the true orientation, which is 1 minute, and thereby of about 30 to 60 times larger than the Bosnian pyramid, a direct rectangular, perfectly a square fits. Okay, there was a misorientation, so if I draw 1 degree of misorientation with the dashed line, you see you get a rather perfect fit. Now let's check the same situation from Google Maps with the Bosnian pyramid. You have the first problem because you see a line here, you see a line here. then you don't see something here and here where there's this ridge of the mountain. You don't see anything. This for sure is the middle point. From here you see the tangential lines. So we have to start drawing a square around this point. Now let's take this square. Then obviously you see, this is not perfectly aligned to true north. And we can make a larger square like this, and then you say it's like here, and this side then nicely fits, whereas here questions arise and here other mountains rise even, so there are even more questions. Now let's draw simply the diagonal lines as you would have here in the Pyramid of Giza, and then you see if we draw this, all of the facets, all of the branches are fully off. Which simply means, how can the claim be true that the Bosnian pyramid is of about 30 to 60 times more precisely orientated to north than the Pyramid of Giza? Kind of weird. And the last claim is that because of it's made artificially, is that we have here concrete material, the best quality in the world, with a hardness of 155 megapascal. Now I tell you, if you look up simply concrete, which you can produce today, it easily can reach these values. But the mega question obviously is, do we have to talk about concrete or more better geopolymer at all? So we do have to talk about geopolymer, which is kind of ancient concrete. The word rather is kind of weird. Polymer are larger long molecular chains which make a network together like spaghetti if you cook them and you cool them down, and due to the networks they are building up, this is where the strength is actually coming from. So to call something geopolymer instead of ancient concrete is already kind of a weird thing. So who invented this word geopolymer? This is Professor Davidovich. He invented really this word geopolymer, and he is a professor. And you see him here in 2008 on a photo with Semir Osmanagic, and he actually, this Davidovich, he did measurements, scanning electron microscope measurements, where he then states immediately, this is ancient cemented concrete. You need element analysis, X-ray diffraction in order to make a real statement. Now, anyhow, let's check this Davidovich, because he is actually the founder of the very first geopolymer institute on the whole world. So here you see the Geopolymer Institute. I put the link down into the comments such that you can look it up by yourself. And here you see him, the guy who founded this institute, Geopolymer Institute, a science institute, is Professor Davidovich. Now, let's look this guy up. So, I was using Web of Science, which is kind of the Google for peer-reviewed scientific publications. And if you type in his name, you find 5 publications. You find something about here coalfish, but here, ancient geopolymer in South America, these are the Incan sites, then in South American, here in Joshua, Egypt, and then another one. So the professor and the director of this institute does have only 5 documents, 5 publications, which are scientifically acknowledged. This is kind of weird, because he founded actually this institute in 1983. Each decent group leader in science has something about 5, 6 PhD students. And as a director, you're involved in most of the PhD students of all the groups. So let's take only the 5 PhD students. On average, this means that they produce something like 1 or 2 publications per year, which will bring up his involvement in publications to of about 5 to 10 per year. 1983. So this is about now 46 years. 46 years times 5 to 10 publications is 460 publications. So here's something really going wrong, because this guy is the director and the founder of this Geopolymer Institute, the first in the whole world, and he has only 5 publications. So now we are here on the first site, and this stone here, and these stones are claimed to be artificial. If we now have a closer look, first of all, my first impression, this is nature. But if you look closer, this looks like a normal rock from nature. And then if we go here, then you start wondering, it's indeed as a lot of individual stones are on top of the surface. Also this guy here and this guy. In particular, this guy is rather interesting to look at. So let's go a little bit closer, and then you indeed see the whole surface does have these stony structures. And if you now look to the stones more closely, then you indeed see that here there is kind of a matrix binding the individual stones. So indeed, this has the impression as there's a binding material, and then you might think this is artificial. The same is for this stone here. Also there's stuff in between. But I would say this is still possible in a kind of lava eruption or so, where you have rocky stones and then the not extremely hot lava type of stuff is flowing in between, binding the stones together. This would be my answer to this. But I had to look up my answer. And it is not lava-like stuff as I suggested. It's called conglomerates, and it's a normal natural phenomena which happens in nature all the time. So, especially at rivers and at coast sites, where you have loose stones in the riverbed or at the coast, which are typically even rounded and loosely bound. And then if you have sedimentation and limestone, which can sediment due to the flow of the water, they can bind all these individual stones together. And then in the further processing and the aging, you get conglomerates. The limestone is binding together the rocks. And look at this, like this, or like this, or here. This is exactly what you see over there at the Bosnian pyramid. No special artificial concrete. And as a scientist, I really have problems with this type of boards, because here it is clearly stated that this is artificial concrete, and that is harder than all the modern concretes with lower water absorption. Look, the point here is the following. Not everybody is a scientist. People go there to the site and read the text which is presented there, and maybe they don't even have the capability or the background knowledge, and they cannot check all this. Then obviously they get the full wrong information on purpose, simply by the guys making all these claims. So while hiking up the mountain, the pyramid, we saw a lot of this individual further boards claiming the artificial sides and artificial layers and enjoy of them. This is one, this is another one, this is another one here. And obviously, if you look to this, this is full man-made, right? I mean, you have never seen something like this if you have been hiking through the mountains. And do you think this is really enough? We go a step further. Now this board presents polycontrast interference photography in 2015. I know a lot of scientific stuff, physics stuff, chemistry stuff. I've never heard about this, so I had to look this up first. But what you see and what the claim is here you see it in 2007. It's not really fully developed in 2011, 2015. And at the end, now here you see we are building up a beam of something of energy which really penetrates out of the pyramid. So I was, man, what kind of energy are you photographing here and where are these photographs coming from? So poly contrast interference photography. Let's check what this is. Now, it is a biofield imaging technique invented by the British researcher Harry Oldfield in the 1980s. And, now it comes, it evolved from Oldfield's earlier work with Kirlian photography. And in physics, we have checked Kirlian photography. And this is rather interesting because it exists. So if you take under certain circumstances a leaf, for example, and you cut away or drag away a piece of the leaf, and then you do this photography really on silver plates with light and high voltage, you actually see kind of the aura of the complete leaf with the part existing which you cut off. We don't have an answer for this from the physics point of view, but we know from the physics point of view this exists. But now it goes a step further. It uses digital video software, process imaging, claiming to capture subtle etheric energy fields. So if we already have a problem in physics understanding what is happening in Kirlian photography, but now you go a step further and you do with digital filtering and interpreting what you see in cameras, this is really esoteric. I mean, there's no science behind this here, right? And do you think this is enough? What's about sacral geometry? He compares the Bosnian pyramid of the sun, the moon, and the third one to this magic triangle, which occurs also on two other sites on the world, in Giza and in Bolivia, Teotihuacan. But by incident, I was last year 5 weeks in Egypt, and then you see the three pyramids don't match this triangle, only the outer ones, but 2 points always have a straight line. And what is the third point? It's a graveyard. But the graveyard does not really have to do anything with the pyramid. The more important point would be the Sphinx, which would be located here. So this is falling fully out of the sky. And we do not stop here. Now we come to real physics experiments, and external researchers have measured the 20-meter beam which narrows down on top of the pyramid and produces the 28 kilohertz, which you can see also in my earlier movie. This is really, I don't know what to say on this. So the first thing I had to do were checking the instruments that they are using, and their measurements were from 10 to 50 hertz, 20 to 40 kilohertz, and then in the gigahertz regime. So here you see the EMF 823. It's a dedicated electromagnetic field measurement device measuring from 30 to 300 hertz. But they measured from 10 to 50 hertz, which is out of the scope of this measurement device. So now let's check the EMF 828. This is a 3D tester with 3 coils, a nice instrument, but it measures from 30 to 300 hertz, so again they cannot reach the range they claimed. Moreover, look to this Serbian independent researcher measuring the 28 kilohertz, weird frequency actually. And he has a Mastec digital multimeter. And you see, It's on the stand, one next to 12 o'clock. So I was looking up this multimeter, and here you see the multimeter. And if we now look up and zoom in, you see he is measuring ohms. Ohms is resistance. How on earth can you measure something in resistance in order to detect electromagnetic radiation in the kilohertz regime? This is really kind of weird. And finally, we have oscilloscopes and spectrometers measuring in the gigahertz regime. Yes, oscilloscopes and spectrometers are highly calibrated, highly sensitive, and very precise instruments, but it depends on what you hook up to them in order what you can measure. And then obviously what they did measure, or at least they claim, that during the moon eclipse, the dynamic electric field was twice as strong during the moon eclipse. Now, what is a dynamic electrical field? Each electromagnetic wave, this is the definition, is a dynamic electrical field. So there's nothing special on this. And that this should be twice as large during the moon eclipse, this is probably not true. So we went further hiking up the pyramid, and then you'll find at the next board the information that there's a hole. Going into the hole, you can see actually the internal structure of the pyramid. Obviously we did. You find these slabs, and if you go into the hole, it's a normal cave and nothing special. Even these slabs over here, they do not even look artificial. And then we were hiking up the pyramid, really over the side. This was rather steep, slope of 42 degrees like the pyramids really have. And it was due to the limestone and the weather were a little bit wet, really slippery. We both fell twice, but we really did not see anything special on this hike. If you come up over there, then you have to the back the ridge where the pyramid is kind of different. And if you look over there and you come down to the ridge, which is the easier way to approach the pyramid, you end up in a shop, in a bar, where again some money is made. So this is the view from the ridge to the back, where the pyramid is not really a pyramid. Do you see the pyramid with the full height? Now here at the end there is the bar where you can get some nice food and drinks. And you think this is enough? No. I was looking Osamovich up and his publications. And I did found in 2015 a peer-reviewed paper of him alone, as founder and principal investigator of the archaeological Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun Foundation, USA, not even Bosnia. And what is the title? It's about politicized archaeology and cultural gatekeeping, the case of the Bosnian pyramids. This has been published in the Journal of Political Science International, PSI. Here's the DOI number. What's it about? Man, unbelievable. In the paper you find a Monte Carlo simulation, an expert support probability. A Monte Carlo simulation is an energy function where you define the lowest and all the other energy states, and then you have a dice or a random generator making a choice between all the different states, and the higher the cost, the higher the energy, the less probable it becomes. So the definition of his Monte Carlo simulation is not explained in the paper at all. But what is he at all doing? Something really weird. He is checking the probability of experts endorsing the project of the conditions of the Pyramid of the Sun being artificial. And he found with his Monte Carlo simulation, which he does not explain how he's doing, that actually for 45 external researchers endorsing the project, the chance is 0. So 0%. Which means his interpretation is that there's no chance that he ever will have enough support from all the people and the science in order to understand that this is really an ancient pyramid, as he says. Except if you go there. So which simply means this paper, the result of the paper is stating that you have to go to Bosnia in order to not being one of the 45 or claiming to have supporting the statistics, which is exactly what he wants to. Why? As explained in my earlier movie, of which I put the link down in the comments, this Ravne tunnel project over here with the tunnels, meditation and the tunnels and the golden labyrinth and here the Stonehenge sites, and so all this hill belongs to him. So whatever you do, if you go there, he is making money out of this. And here you see actually the Pyramid of the Sun. Knowing that he is a businessman, it is quite interesting to have a look to a few numbers. So in the initial state, after the announcement, visitors in Visoko were rising to 200,000. Next year, to 80 to 250,000, 150,000. So this was the first peak. Then it dropped back to 10,000, but over the years, it is going up again all the time. 20, 30, 40, 100,000 plus, 65, 85. And now we have steadily 100,000 plus visitors a year. In total, cumulative 2.1 million visits. If you count only the entrance fees for the Pyramid of the Sun of €5 and €10 for the Ravne underground tunnels, and I don't count all the other things then you immediately see this makes 30 million euros in total. With 100,000 plus visitors a year, 100,000 plus visitors a year times 15, this makes 1.5 million euro a year. And this is next to all these other earnings like meditation, special tours, the foods, the souvenirs, the book selling, the renting of the sites where he owns the sites. And even if you count that he has in the foundation now 50 people working for them, the average salary in Bosnia is not as high, so probably at the end he is still making €500,000 a year. In addition, there is clearly an advantage for the region, namely camping, tourism, restaurants, additional attractions, and obviously tax for the city. So it is quite clear the whole concept, the whole idea really attracts more and more people, and the whole region is really benefiting from this. Is this the reason why the Senate overruled its Ministry of Archaeology? Nevertheless, this is fine with me that the people can earn money like this. What I really do not like is if you hang up all these boards with the information a normal person cannot really easily check. And then they clearly get wrong information. And this is even lying. So there, a border for me is clearly crossed. Fine to earn money, fine to push it like this, fine to not tell the truth, make a mystery out of everything, but at least remove all the stuff which is simply not true. I do have quite some links which I put down into the comments such that you can look them up by yourself. And if you like the video and you want to see, make sure that you don't miss the next stages. So hit the like button, subscribe and the alarm bell, and write down into the comments down below here at the lower part. I have opened the comment section. Let me know your thoughts, what I can improve or where you are interested in. And I hope you have fun with this video. All the best. Shaka Shapa.